I've been blessed to walk a few different roads, the stage, the studio, and lately, deeper into my own community. This podcast is my way of listening more, sharing more, and finding common ground with people who inspire me. I'm Bobby Pulido, and this is my Ranch Hall podcast. My guest for today is somebody that many of you have heard. I met her probably 2 years ago and was instantly impressed with all the work that she'd done. I was familiar with the work, but more impressed with the person. Sister Norma Pimentel, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you thinking that of me.
Everything you do is through actions and not words, and that's rare. Too often, people also do things and it's more related with, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you're very different because everything that you do is just action. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because I wish more people knew the true work that you did. And that's why we're doing this today, because I think it's something real necessary in this community, and it's something that's always going to be necessary. And when I first met you, I was like, it was at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus event in Washington, D.C., and they gave you a recognition.
Yes.
And I was like, she's from the Valley.
I'm going in September.
Well,
Tony, every year he always invites me.
I was not invited. But that's okay, though. That's okay.
I'll tell Tony.
But I am a fan of your work. I really am. I've been blessed enough to go to the Respite Center and actually see the work that gets done. And I think a lot of people don't have that. They don't get to see that. And so in this day and age of judgments and social media and all this other stuff, there's so much disinformation and stuff that goes around. To me, it was really important to actually go see it and see the people and see the work that gets done for that. And we'll get into all that. But I'm really interested, like, in you and how you got your start. Where did you start? Where were you born? I don't even know.
I'm from the Valley. Soy del Valle.
Okay, yeah, born in the Valley.
Born in the Valley. My family's from Mexico.
Right.
My mom from Matamoros, my dad from Chiapas.
Okay.
Two totally polar extremes. Yet they found each other and they married, and then my dad had the curiosidad, of saying, well, maybe we can live in the United States. Let me go ask them. When they crossed over, to the United States, tenían su pasaporte para cruzar, and so he asked, what does it take for me to live here in the United States? He said, fill this application. So he did, and that's how I was born here,
In Brownsville?
In Brownsville, Texas.
Okay, so from the lower valley. Cameron County,
yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And so, at what age did you decide to
enter religious life?
Yes.
Well, I think God decided, sense of humor, like he said, esta le voy a cambiar el I'm an artist, I love art. Since I remember I was in first grade and my teacher said, Norma, I want you to do the nativity in the wall. She put bishop paper in the whole wall and I did the nativity for her.
Wow.
First grade. So my whole life, my mother was an artist. After she did her house chores, she was a housewife, she would put her easel, her oil paints, and she started painting. And I was just like mesmerized, I loved my mother. I wanted to be, she did so many beautiful things that she's a great cook. She did all our clothing, we were very poor, and yet we never knew that we were poor because of how my dad and her always found ways to take care of us in a very beautiful way, And so she was awesome in every way I could think of, And so art was one of them. And so I continued a career with art and graduated with Bachelor's of Fine Arts from Edinburgh and at that time Pan American University.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so after I graduated, I was off to go possibly to Austin to continue another degree. And I was home. My dad was a very strict, kind of conservative kind of father that her daughters had to stay home and not go anywhere else. So I was kind of cautious.
I don't have daughters, but I'd probably be
I
the
was
same.
cautious about how do I approach my dad to make sure he doesn't interfere in my plans. My plans were to go off, and conquer the world. I knew I was up for something big, with my art. That's what I thought, And so anyway, I couldn't go out because I didn't want to blow my chances of not getting to go out to Austin, And so I kind of hold on, stay home until one day I got so tired of just being waiting until the day I would take off to Austin to University of Texas. And I called this friend of mine, and I said, Linda, what are you doing tonight? And she said, we're going to a prayer group. I go, a prayer group. It's like, it's not for me. And so I said, what are you doing after the prayer group, Linda? And she said, we're going to Pizza Hut. Perfect. Pick me up after the prayer group.
I'll meet you there.
And she said, no, you have to come to the prayer group because we can't come for you back. And so you're stuck. You have to come to the prayer group. That's where God got me, because at the end of the prayer group, they asked everybody to sit down in a circle that needed prayer. And she said, sit on the circle. And she knew I was struggling with my dad. And so she set me on the circle, and all these old ladies just put hands everywhere, everybody that was in the prayer group at the end. Something happened. After that, I was stuck. I wanted to go back to the prayer group. I was like a sponge, just taking God in every way possible, And so the next question was, do you want to be a nun? And I said, if it's anything of what I'm feeling right now, why not? And
Wow.
I left everything, everything I had going for me. It was just put aside, and I entered the convent.
At what age?
21. 20?
20?
No, actually, no. It was, what year? 23 years old.
So you didn't have an upbringing that was really religious.
Yes, we were.
Or just
but
normal?
My dad said, we're not even that religious, Norma.
Okay.
We go to mass on Sunday,
Right.
this kind of thing, you're
The
a nice
normal
girl,
norm.
everything. But other than that, no, not at all. And my dad did say that. He said, no somos tan católicos así como para que te metas en monja, Norma.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where did you go to when you first got in? Where?
The sisters that really captured my attention, was the Missionaries of Jesus. There was a group of sisters from Spain. They came down to the valley. The local bishop at the time went to Spain to ask for religious sisters to come and help him out here in the valley. And his sisters came, and so they were las callejeras. You know why they call them the callejeras?
No.
Because they walked the streets of the colonias of the poor people, and that's all they did. Go visit the families and go talk to the families
streets.
and just care for them and find out what their needs were. I fell in love with that type of person, the person that was there present with the family, we care about everybody. And so I joined them.
You joined that group.
Yes.
Wow. And that was kind of the school that you had from
So
that philosophy.
from there they started to get formation. It was a very small group, but they sent me off to get my master's in theology in San Antonio.
And you did?
As part of my formation. And so yes, so come back to the valley and right away was very connected with the church in working with the poor and the people that need help. And so.
And you got your master's in San Antonio where?
In St. Mary's.
Oh, go Rattlers.
Yeah, that's right.
I went to St. Mary's.
Did you?
I did.
Nice. I liked St. Mary's.
I was at St. Mary's. And yeah. So that's an interesting.
Yes, it was good to be there and then come back to the valley well, it was very quickly that what happened with immigrants were coming in, and so our sisters the Border Patrol would call the sisters in charge can you take this mother and child because we don't have a place to put them, and they would come to our convent and we would take care of it. It was part of our life, our community life, just to have a mother and a baby while we can figure out how they're going to move on to their final destination. Something what we're doing now. Back then I had no knowledge of what was happening, but that's what we were doing. They were released to our care and to connect them with their families, and then they had permission to continue on, and so we did that right from the start.
That was before Catholic Charities was down here?
No, well, Catholic Churches always existed down here.
It was
but I wasn't
time.
part of it because I was part of my formation.
Right.
I was just a novice sister, young sister that was learning to be a sister. And so, but that's what the sisters were doing. They were taking care of the families that were brought to us by immigration, because they didn't have the detention.
Because there was a need.
The detention facility down here back then were just for men, and so the women and the babies and children, they didn't have a place for them. So they would say, well, let's take them to a convent, and they would call the Sister
Right.
Juliana, who was the person in charge, and she would take them.
Wow. So this is how long ago was that?
Wow,
A long time, right?
a lot of time. 1980.
Okay. I was born in 73.
See,
So yeah, you don't know. I mean,
yes, it was quite a while back. Yes.
Yes.
So that's how I was so immersed in the needs of our people and the people we see that are hurting in our community. Started right from the moment I entered religious
course.
life. Yeah.
Especially down here. If you're in the community, you know that that's a part of our life down here.
Yes, we're right at the border. We've
Right.
always lived, you know, going back and forth to Mexico, to Matamoros was
Normal.
something normal, something
Yeah.
that people would come all the time. We would go all the time. We have families on both sides. It's something, a part of who we are.
The thing about Valley life is we're very integrated with the border. We've like, it's always been normal to us.
Right.
Right? Like, I think if you're from the Valley, at some point in your life, you had an immigrant, housekeeper, yard man, somebody in your life that was involved in some way that you knew, the friends, right? That you knew that they had crossed the border. And they were here, and they kind of become like a family member.
You know, and I think that even the government, local government, you know, we sort of like, the river was not really the real border, but more the one in Sarita, you know.
Right. The checkpoint.
The stretch of land became like a space of land when people can come and go and just be.
Correct.
They knew people would cross, and they would cross back, you know. They would come
Correct.
make a living for the day and then go take care of their families back home, you know, and things like that. So I think it was something normal, you know.
Yeah, and how it's changed, right?
It changes a lot.
And you know, I talked to some people from out there, northern parts, and they're like, "Where are you from?" "Well, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley." "On the border?" "Oh man, how is that?" And it's like
something, right?
It's like they have an impression that it's like
a misconception of what the valley really is like.
Correct.
You know,
it really is a big misconception, and not to say that, you know, and I think incorrectly, you kind of get painted that way, and now recently they've kind of tried to paint me as an open borders advocate. We're not ever saying that. I've never said just let everybody come in, and that's never been a thing. I think the biggest thing that people need to realize is you've always just said just treat them with dignity.
I think that's the mistake, that just because you believe that you recognize everybody as a person, as a human being, a person that needs to be treated with dignity and respect, right among you're tagged with open borders, you know?
Correct.
There's two different things. One is talking about how you treat a person. The other is talking about what are the rules and regulations that need to exist to be a country, to be a community, and how we make things work. Those are two separate things.
Completely different. And my thing is like, I look at the border situation, and I tell people, you know, I'm not for open borders. The way the system is they make you wait like sometimes 20 years, right? They make it so impossible for you to... Difficult that a lot of people, out of desperation, let's be honest, that's kind of it, right? I always tell everybody, your family would do the same for you. And would you blame them for it? And I don't think we can, right? Because part of the human spirit is always trying to better our lives for our families. That's what makes us human, is that we aspire to do something. And sometimes that means, I
always believe that, you know, and with how things have gone, we see so many families and children. The most I've seen in all this time that I've been dedicated to care for families who are entering our country to take in pursuit of their own protection and safety of their children, you know, not so much of themselves, but of their kids. You know, it's like every parent, and I see them in them when I've had the opportunity to see them arrive and care for them, and their child is everything to them. You know, they risked everything. They went out of their way to protect them in every way possible, and they're here for them. You know, and one time I remember a reporter, you know, because sometimes all these reporters from everywhere comes over to the valley and interview me about what's going on, and one lady at one of these very important famous ladies in one of these TV stations asked me, sister, why is it that they do this to their kids, you know? And
I hear that all the time.
And I said to the, I looked at her like I'm looking at you right now, and I said, are you a mother? I said, yes. I said, wouldn't you do anything to protect your child, to make sure your child is safe? And she cried. You just saw her eyes get teary.
Of course.
She said, I would. And that's what it's about. It's about life, protecting life, can we all do that, and
course.
figure out the rules and what works, and how things should be. But we can never lose sight of the fact that a human being is to be protected and cared for,
Right.
especially by a parent, and the parents, that's what I see. I see dad pick up a child that is not theirs, and the child is crying for his dad because his dad is somewhere else maybe, and he hasn't seen the dad. And this dad looks at this little boy and picks him up and consoles him to make him feel better,
Right.
This is the persons that I see, that immigrants are somebody who are a human being going through desperate, incredible suffering,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
suffering that I'm amazed that they make it through, and so that's why one of the things I said that I've learned in all these years that I've worked with immigrants and I've reached out and helped hundreds of thousands of them. The one thing I've learned is that they taught me that because of through all that they've been through, they've been through so much. And and putting a pause on that.
Yes.
Recently, or not recently, when we had all these people at our center at the respite center in McAllen.
Yes.
And there was this mother that had arrived, and she entered through the United States through the port of entry. She was at the center. She got her ticket to go to wherever she was going, and she was desperate because she was all dirty and she wanted to take a shower. And I walked into the center and she approached me and she said, "Please, I'm leaving in 1 hour and I need to take a shower. I need clean clothes. Can you help me?" And I looked around and I said, "There's no way I'm going to have a clean pair of clothes for her." And I can imagine the long lines of people wanting to take a shower, just getting her. She's going to not miss her bus,
Yeah.
I said, and I looked at her and I said, "You know that your trip to get here was very difficult, right? And that there's still a lot of people going through that have not made it like you've made it. You're here. You're okay.
Yeah.
You really are okay. All you need to do is get in that bus, and before you know it, you will be somewhere where you can take your shower and you will be clean." And she looks at me and she says, "I am okay. Thank you." And she takes off, I think that sometimes, we forget the fact that people hold, and this is my thought, because of all they've been through, they have made our community, our grounds holy because of their presence, because by us offering a space where they can be safe, where they can be welcome to restore their dignity, we have actually blessed by their presence, and we
Sure.
fail to see that. We fail to see how blessed we are because their presence makes our community holy, because of the fact that we can be able to provide them the care they're needing desperately, and we are able to do that.
Over the years that you've dealt with these situations, right? From, I don't know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago
Right.
to now, do you feel that society has changed in how it views immigration and how it views, more importantly, people? Because I know that I have my perception, but you have a much better perception of being in it, right? And actually doing the work. And then also seeing how that work gets viewed upon. Do you feel that it's been the same, or do you feel that it's been different?
In different times,
Yes.
it has been different, and in other ways the same. Because one of the things that I always say, and I feel proud about it, is our Bishop Daniel Flores.
He's awesome.
He's an
Yes.
amazing man, and he always says that our valley is a valley with a big heart.
We are.
Somos gente de gran corazón, because really,
It's true.
the valley took thousands of people,
Yes.
and we really, at first, we didn't get any help from the government. It was us, the families from local families, that had to kind of make sure that I had enough food to feed them,
Right.
and had the water and the hygiene items and everything, because we all came together as a community, all of us.
Right.
It didn't matter if you're Catholic or you're Jewish or whatever religion you are, you know.
Right,
It's
right,
like una
of
vez
course.
me llama un muchacho, and we were in a radio station live there outside of the center, and he said, "Oh, I'm Catholic, but because you are doing this, and I'm 100% against what you're doing, I'm going to leave the Catholic Church." Y digo, mijo, no sé qué vas a hacer, because we're all here, you know, estamos todos aquí, you know,
Yes.
all of us. The law enforcement, the city government, the border patrol, ICE, all of us, we were one community working together to care for these families that we were seeing, the conditions and the need that they were in, you know. So that has not changed, you
Right.
know. I think that has been something that has always existed. There has been those groups that even more so toward the end, more recent,
Yes.
that I've seen that negativity or that, oh, they're bad.
Is it mainly on social media?
Well, I don't see people from the valley doing that, you know, as much as people from outside
Correct.
of the valley, because I
'Cause,
think
yeah,
they have
I-
misconception, you know.
I think what we're lacking as a society, and it just seems to be like over time, there's just a lack of empathy. But I think when you're in there, I think most people are good-natured and good-hearted.
All of us are.
Y somos bondadosos.
It's the
right?
fact that we don't, you know, a lot of times we form our own conception from somebody else telling us,
Right.
or something that I hear,
Of course.
or like what we call those algorithms.
Algorithms, that's right, that's right.
That kind of only let me view life in a certain way, you know.
That's right.
But when you push that all aside, and you actually allow yourself to get close to somebody, and you see their face,
Right.
you see their hurt, you see their suffering as a mother, you know, as a child crying for her dad.
You're
Something
human.
something changes, and
Yeah.
you will change. You will. There's something in you that will come out, and I call that God. You know,
It is God,
the God
no
within
doubt.
us that is pulling us forward to do something good.
I agree, and I think it's super commendable, and you know, part of being the head of Catholic Charities, I'm gonna call it like that, because how long have you been in Catholic Charities?
Oh, well, it's going in a lot of years. 2004.
2004.
Well,
Okay.
actually, before I was a counselor for a couple of years, and then in 2004 they gave the bishop gave me the responsibility to oversee Catholic Charities.
Okay, so it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, right? And so it obviously you have had to navigate through the different administrations and
Yes.
right and different politics. And at the end of the day, some of this the funding has traditionally come from from the government, right? There has been government to say, okay, we'll give you a budget so you can do the charitable work, or am I wrong?
Well, you know, initially, no, you know, that didn't happen until mostly it was the previous, not this previous administration. It started with, believe it or not, on Trump's first administration.
I believe it.
The Congress under his administration
Yes.
was the first to go ahead and recognize that all these efforts, humanitarian efforts that were being made and that needed to have some support by the federal government,
Right.
and they voted to give some funds to the work.
So that was the first administration that did that.
And so we didn't get the funds until the next president came in board, but it had been voted. It was voted and decided on the
Right.
previous Congress, and so from then every year. Congress went ahead and set aside some funding to support the efforts that we were doing. But before, it was 100% just community efforts, you know.
Wow, okay.
100%.
I didn't realize that. I thought maybe it had been going on for a long time.
No.
So under Clinton and
No.
under Obama, that was never a thing.
No.
Interesting. That's so interesting. And I would imagine that it's an NGO, so you're having to navigate that situation that
It
sometimes
was all out of the goodness of the heart of people and groups, foundations, grants that reached out to me and says, I want to help you.
right.
Fill out my application. I'm going to help you, you know.
Yeah, because like I would imagine, like at the time when I went to the respite center, there was a lot of people there. Now there's very little.
There's nobody.
There's nobody, right?
No, the ones that we're helping right now are mostly immigrant, the homeless, you know.
Homeless people.
Because
Yes.
we've always helped the homeless
Right.
that are downtown.
Correct.
And anybody that may be released that is already in the United States and was detained, or, you know, when they're picking up people and then
Right.
they're released on bond and they're released and they come to our center. We help them connect with their connections to where they're going. Those are the people we're helping right now at the center.
And I would imagine that there's always a need.
Always, because
if there's a floods, if there's
as far as
just,
Catholic Charities, Bobby is here to respond to the needs of our community, especially the
Doesn't matter what it
most
is.
vulnerable, those that are hurting. When we had a severe flood recently, we're out there
Correct.
trying to figure out how to help those families that really lost everything, and we're still helping those families. And we connect with city governments. So we went to Hardinger, we went to Progreso, where
Right.
we could provide them. And where do we get the funds? By public donations, that we can be able to support these families and give them food, give them things that they need. Otherwise, they won't make it.
They won't. No, I mean, it's just, and I think the one thing I can tell you, I'm proud to be from the Valley, is that we're incredibly charitable. We just are.
Yes, I think this when you allow yourself, and it's something that Pope Francis said so much about when he was with us. His word was encounter. Allow yourself to encounter the other. When you allow yourself to get close enough and encounter that reality, a person, then that person's humanity, that person's reality becomes part of yours. So that for us that believe there is a God, we believe that that's where God becomes present to both of us.
Of course.
And so the good comes out. And
Naturally.
So
Yes.
if I have yo tenía, por ejemplo, señoras que trabajaban limpiando casas,
Yes.
y me traían, sister, le traigo aquí $5 para compartir lo que gané hoy. Just $5. There are people that clean houses that would come and try share that whatever they
Yes.
have. And I had people that are well known in the community that show up at the door of the respite center, the whole family, and says, "We're here to support you. Anything you need, let us know. We will help you."
And that's our spirit down here. I think we truly have a unique culture down here.
Yes.
It's just very different than
it's a way to
other
give
places.
thanks. It's a way to give thanks to God for the blessings really our country is blessed, And
It is.
So the best way to show our appreciation to God for who we are and what we have is to share what we have,
No doubt. I think it's incredibly commendable. And by the way, we are TEDx alums, TEDx McAllen. I also saw your TEDx
Yes.
speech that did really well. I'm jealous because you got aired nationally.
Oh, really?
So you got to do it. Yes, you got to do the big one, right?
Is that right? Yes.
Because you did one here local.
I've done 3 TEDx. Yeah.
Oh, now you're really flexing on me, sister. I only did one, just your local, but I really enjoyed your speech.
Thank you.
I really did, and I want to be your biggest promoter because you don't promote yourself.
Thank you.
And-
Well, I only promote myself for the other, for the person
of
I can help.
course.
If I can, if I can help somebody, if somebody wants to help me to help somebody, that'd be awesome.
That I think is the whole spirit of what we need. I know, like right now, there has been lots of cuts
Totally.
across the board, right? Like SNAP.
Oh, our valley is hurting big time. I was
It's
talking
tough.
to Judge Richard
Cortez,
Cortez. He
right?
said, "Sister, let's talk." We're hurting because there
Yeah.
are a lot of people that depended and counted on the help that we
Yeah.
were getting to support families for food insecurity,
Everything.
for housing, for health issues. Kids
Yes.
that need respirators and all this. Cut. How are we going to help these families, these people? It's going to rely back on us, the people that have something to offer.
And that's where I get is that's my point, is this world would be better if we never forget to be empathetic to other people's issues. And a lot of times we tend to forget that, because if it doesn't affect us in our everyday life, it's very easy for us to judge and say, well, they'll figure it out or whatever. And I really feel like when we do that, we lose ourselves, and we lose our contact with God.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
One thing that Pope Francis said, and that I hear Pope Leo is also saying,
Yes.
is the fact that before doctrine, before policy, is the human person.
That's right.
And we have to have compassion to the human person.
We do.
And we cannot put doctrine or policy above that. Oh, I can't help you because my doctrine doesn't let me,
Right.
or because my policy doesn't let me.
Correct.
No, the person is sacred, and we must defend and protect first beyond anything else.
I agree.
Nothing will excuse us from the fact that I wasn't able to feed you or care for you as a human being because I gave myself the excuse, pues no traigo papeles. ¿Ya? No creo que Jesús te va a pedir papeles cuando te diga puedes entrar al reino de Dios.
No.
That
It just says it doesn't. We have to walk the walk. Also, we can't just talk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
And
that comes first.
You got to walk it
and
too.
then let's figure out the rules. But
no doubt.
The rules are made to help us live better, not to destroy us or hurt us.
And I'll tell you, this is something in my life that I believe, because it's worked that way for me. And I don't ever, to be honest with you, I never promote anything that I do if I help people or do things like that, because I've always been very cautious about them going, no, you just want to try to get attention. So you're stuck in that position that if you do something that's good and you say it, then they go, oh, you're just trying to say that because you want people to like you. But if you don't, then they say, well, why didn't you let us know? We didn't know any of the things. So it's like you're kind of in that situation that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I think that if there's one thing that's worked with me in my life, and I've had this discussion with my wife, when my wife first met, and we started dating, and she got to know me, she's like, you do so much for so many people.
You do.
But I tell her, you know what? Every time I go do something for somebody, I get a blessing.
That's a good sign.
I'll get a call. They go, hey, we're going to hire you for this gig. And it's paid like really well, like even better than what I would want, right? I'm like, every time, it never fails.
Wow.
I always, now, maybe some other people is not like that. But I feel like the more I help, the more God helps me.
Well, that's what they say, right? Or I don't know where I heard it, but the fact that, tú lo das y te da Dios el 100%.
And it's true. It's really, really
you
true.
Have to worry about
I've lived it. Yeah. I've lived it. And before we go, I want to thank you. But I want to say, and I want to mention, thank you very much for the recognition that's coming up for the Catholic Charities event.
Well, the reason why that happened is because I believe in the person, okay?
Thank you.
I believe in whoever we honor. I wish I could honor people that they just say, no, I can't, But honestly, for me, it's important to highlight those persons that stand for goodness, stands for caring for others, and that don't just say it, they actually do it, and you do it, And I appreciate
Thank you.
What you do to support efforts that are good and that help humanity and help our community.
And I want to invite everybody that's watching us in this podcast to go to bobbypulido.com. We'll have the information so you can actually want to contribute. You want to go. You want to get a table.
Yes,
you want to. This is important. It's an important cause to me. I think it's an important cause to the community. I thank you for all that you do. I am definitely more blessed for having met you, and the work that you do is admirable. It's something that I look up to. I am a fan, and hopefully now a friend. And thank you so much. Thank y'all for checking this podcast out. And man, my dad always has this saying that my grandfather told him, and I'm going to steal it from him. Es bueno ser importante, pero es más importante ser bueno.
I like that one. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Definitivamente, más importante ser bueno. Let's not forget that.
Thank you, sister.
Gracias, Bobby.
Thank you.